With Guardians of the Galaxy 2 coming out with a lot of praise these days, and showing yet again that Marvel, they're not going to flop anytime soon, let's be honest. But where does Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 rank among the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films? Well, stick around to find out as I put every single film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe into a list. So, at number 15 is The Incredible Hulk. Now, this is definitely the worst film in the MCU. There is pretty much no doubt about it, to be honest. Not many things work, and even the main character was recast to Mark Ruffalo ready for the Avengers. And apart from, a little Civil War references and an occasional little reference here and there, there's not really much even tying it to the cinematic universe. So, it's pointless, really. You don't really need it. It doesn't need to be a thing. But anyway, that's The Incredible Hulk, number 15. At number 14, we have Thor: The Dark World. And this is a funny one, because it says a lot about your cinematic universe when one of the worst films is actually decent and watchable. It suffers quite a bit from a terrible villain and stuff, but in my opinion, the reason it's so low down is because it just focuses way too much on Earth, and it should do some kind of space thing more often. But not a bad film, but at number 14, and nonetheless. Next is Iron Man 2. Now, this film is a bit weird. It has two great scenes in the final fight and the briefcase suit up, but besides that, it's very average and it's just not a very strong movie in total. Bit convoluted, but yeah, that's Iron Man 2, number 13. In at number 12, we have Thor, the original Thor. Whilst not a bad film, it's just not great. There's not too much bad things to say, but there's just nothing good to say either, really. So, yeah, that's Thor. Next up in 11 is Captain America: The First Avenger. This is where we get to the higher, a new level of Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. From here, all the movies are good, they're just not great. So, Captain America is pretty good, it's just, again, it's just not great, it's nothing special, and it's not as good as anything higher on the list. So at number 10, hidden in the top 10 territory now, we have Ant-Man. Now this one was a surprise to a lot of people. I think this is where some people thought Marvel would start to fall and start to slack a bit, but it wasn't. It really was a surprise hit, but again, it's just not that big of a film. It's not that amazing. It was good. It's watchable. It's funny, but it's not as good as anything else really. And at number 9, we have Iron Man 3. Now, a lot of people hate this film because of that Mandarin twist. But if you forget about the comics for a second and just think about that Mandarin twist on its own, it really isn't that bad. It's just because your comic book mind and knowledge thrust you towards the fact that it's a terrible decision because you've read all these comics. But besides that, it's a very good Tony Stark film, which is my problem with the movie. My problem with the movie is that there's just too much Tony Stark and not enough Iron Man. But anyway, it's pretty good. Not enough Iron Manning about, but not bad. And at number 8, we have Doctor Strange. This was another very successful hit, because it was just nothing like any other superhero movie ever made, to be honest, so far. And it successfully introduced the mystical side of the MCU, whilst keeping everything else relevant and not making it overcomplicated. And at number 7, we have Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, in my opinion, this was a really good film. The opening and the Hulkbuster fight were definitely the highlights of the film. It was really good, but the final fight is definitely it's a bit over the top. There's a bit too many just dumb running around drones that they can just kill. And it's just literally, it's near enough a copy and paste of the first Avengers. There's a good opening scene, then there's a bit of hero on hero action, then they team up for the final battle against a load of people, and they win. Next up is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, I might get some hate for this one a bit, but I just don't like it as everyone else. I know that some people will say, oh, this is the best Marvel movie to date, this is the best Marvel movie, this is the best superhero movie ever made, this is one of the best movies ever made. In my opinion, it's just not. It has a lot of flaws, and to me, a lot of people just seem to ignore those, those glaring flaws. It's a good film. It's a great film. In fact, it's a phenomenal film. But it's just not as good as people say. Next up, we have Captain America: Civil War. 2 Captain America entries in a row. Probably not what you're expecting, but this is where we get to the amazing MCU movies. This is the top tier. These are the best MCU movies, and even some of the best films of all time here. So, what's wrong with Civil War? Why is it 5th? Well, there's a lot of problems, and this is my main problem with this particular movie, is it establishes all these different characters before this movie, and then you go into it, and all the characters' power levels are just completely changed. Let me just give an example here. In the first Iron Man movie, Iron Man, in a very, very new suit, one of his first suits, is able to take a tank shell to the face and fall 100 foot and get up fine and then destroy the tank. Like, pretty much completely fine. But then in this film, much later on, after he's battled Thor and Hulk and Ultron, a couple of punches from Captain America can destroy this new suit. I don't know. I don't know. Scarlet Witch has been upgraded a lot, which is fine, because we never really saw her powers anyway. Captain America is obviously majorly upgraded. Falcon is majorly upgraded. And I just don't really... I think they should have stuck with their guns in terms of the power levels that they'd already set. Next up is number 4, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. Now this was a great film. The characters in it were extremely good. All the characters had meaning. There's a lot of comedy here. It's got quite a bad villain, I would say, but even then he works for what he is. This film was the most obscure, biggest risk Marvel took with this. They just went for it. And James Gunn did a very good job in this film, with a massive risk, but one that paid off extremely well. So at number 3, this is where we get to the top tier. This is the maximum tier we can go to. The top 3 films, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know what they are, but you don't know what order they're in. So at number 3, we have Iron Man, the original Iron Man. Now, in my opinion, this is by far the best solo origin story of any superhero movie. This was the first film in the MCU, and arguably it's the reason the other ones even exist. If it wasn't for this movie, they wouldn't even be there. But forgetting all that, it's just a great film. The story's simple, it works, it doesn't get overcomplicated like some of the newer MCU films, and that definitely works in its favour. Also, at the time, there wasn't this talk of superhero fatigue. I think for me anyway, I don't feel the fatigue. I want it to keep going, but I think at the time there was no fatigue, and people, they didn't really rate these kind of movies as harshly as they do now. You look at like Guardians 2 gets rated a lot more harshly than films like Iron Man and films like Captain America and Thor were rated in their times. Anyway, on to number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is it. The second place is Guardians of the Galaxy 2. A truly great film. It's a lot funnier than the first one. It's got a bigger scale. It's got more things crammed in. It's more complicated. And it's just come out. And I won't go into spoilers because it just came out. But it crams in a lot. Like a lot about the Marvel Universe. But fits it in. All of it fits in very well. And it even sets up sequels. It sets up spin-offs that you can do. It's just phenomenal. Even the emotional stuff, when it's not funny, is really good. But the comedy and the action is really what drives this film to be the second best film in the MCU. But at number 1, you know what it is. It's anyone that's not been on this list so far, and that is The Avengers. Now this was the culmination of the entirety of the MCU until this point. Kind of like what Infinity War will be, but this is a smaller scale version basically. And it didn't disappoint at all. We got a great setup, a great villain, a great final fight, and for the first time for the first good time, we had some truly great movie hero on hero action. We hadn't really seen much like them before now, but in here we get Iron Man versus Hulk, Thor versus Hulk, Captain America. It's so like Hawkeye against Black Widow. The kind of hero and action is not what we've seen before. The story was really good, which was a surprise. And yeah, I think that's the best MCU movie to date. So that's my list. What do you guys think? Post your list down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. subscribe if you're new around here, and goodbye.